Get ready for an unfair advantage over your competition. This is the Sales Edge podcast, where globally recognized sales expert and trainer Joe Pici helps you sharpen your skills for booking more appointments and closing more deals. And now, here's your host, Joe Pici.
Well, hey team, welcome back to the Sales Edge. This is Joe Pici. We're fired up here and we're excited about the future of helping you gain an unfair advantage over your competition, helping you get that competitive edge, but more than anything, help you take what you're doing to the next level. We're all at a certain level in what we do, and aren't we all striving to get to the next level, to get better at what we do? And so Sales Edge is this is podcast number 37, and we're now in, I think, our 42nd country, and it's pretty exciting, and more and more buy-in. So thank you to our audience, and thank you for the recent spike in listeners. We certainly appreciate it. You know, Sales Edge is sponsored by Pici, which is a speaking, training, coaching, consulting companies, helping companies get better, attract and retain more clients, helping speakers, trainers, and coaches take their talent and intellectual property to market. So today on the Sales Edge, we're going to be covering a topic that it's kind of a lightning rod topic. It's something we live with every day. It never goes away. It never will go away. And it's been my experience, very few people have something in place to handle this. And that subject today is conflict. Throughout our podcast, we address different aspects of your growth, your productivity. But conflict is something that's here every day in every way, and it comes at us many different ways. The way I'd like to start today is giving you some definitions of conflict. Conflict is competitive or opposing actions of incompatibilities. It's antagonistic action. The second thing is it's mental struggle resulting from incompatible or opposing needs, drives, and desires. Another definition is the opposition of persons or forces that gives rise to dramatic actions. And then the next one is to be opposed or contradictory, failure to agree. Now, that's amazing because I don't see anything on there that shows conflict in a positive light. Now, conflict can create movement that may become a positive thing, but in and of itself, conflict is destructive. And I know for me, I always thought conflict was a good thing. It's the way I'm wired. But really, it's not. It's not a good thing at all. So what we're going to talk about today is perspectives and really some of the ramifications of unchecked conflict. Because if you don't have a conflict resolution methodology in place, if you don't have a way to deal with conflict, then you're going to become more reactive. And what I see is one of the challenges in dealing with conflict is we're always set on our heels. We're always in a reactive mode, and it always seems to sneak up on us. But I want to tell you that you've got to have a process in place whereby you have conflict resolution. For us here at Pici and Pici, Joe and Dawn Pici, what I had to do was I had to create a methodology, a system, a process that when conflict came into our business, our life, that we could start stepping on step 1, step 2, step 3 to move forward. So let's talk about what happens in situations where there's unresolved conflict. Let's talk about some of the results of unresolved conflict. Number one of the things that will result from unresolved conflict is wasted time. When there's conflict, people waste time. There's certain behavior styles that will actually get locked up by conflict, and so time is wasted. In companies, when they're evaluating their procedures, they're evaluating productivity. I don't know that they factor in how much time they lose on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis because they chose not to address, resolve, and fix the conflict that they're having. The second thing that we see in unresolved conflict is poor decision making. When conflict is coming at people, they tend not to make clear and wise decisions. They sometimes it becomes emotional. Sometimes it knocks them off balance. And so now all of a sudden decision making gets clouded, especially when you're dealing with groups of people, dealing with leadership, dealing with anything that involves more than one person. The leader or the people that are in a decision-making process, if they don't have a way to resolve, address, and move past conflict, then you're going to have a challenge right there, and you're going to have poor decision-making. Let's talk about another result of unresolved conflict: loss of quality people. You know that when you have high conflict, you're going to lose people. You can't stop it. When people get into that conflict situation, a lot of people will quit a job. A lot of people will get fired. And when you talk to HR departments and you say, when you lose a good person, what is that costing us? What is the price of losing a quality employee? Well, according to national statistics, a year and a half salary goes into replacing a quality employee. So, and it's always amazing because a lot of times when there's conflict, the people you lose are not the ones that are causing the conflict. They're the good people. They're the ones you need, and they have options, so they find another place to work. Also, there's times that when there's conflict, the supervisor, the manager, the leader will react and may fire someone really because they don't have a system in place, and then later they're sorry that happened. They lost a good person. Let's talk about number 4, restructuring. Many times a conflict can cause a company or an athletic team or whatever, an association, to have to restructure. All of a sudden, this person's not getting along with this person, so they no longer can work in the same department. This person doesn't take leadership from that person. And so all of a sudden you have companies that are spending time and money to restructure. Just like I said in the last one, they lose a quality person. Well, now they have to restructure that team, that group. And so far we've dealt with 4 things and none of them are good. All right, the next one is health cost. If you talk to any doctor, whether it's holistic or medical, if you talk to people about health, conflict causes stress, and stress is the cause of massive health challenges. When you have conflict, my daughter was managing a group of people over in Tampa when she was going through college, and the amount of people that would call off, get somebody else to take their shift, call in sick, was unbelievable, because the stress of the conflict was causing them to bail out, not to decide not to go to work. Here's another one: lower motivation. When you have high conflict, there's less motivation. People tend not to be motivated to show up and do the right thing and exceed your expectations. You look at an athletic team that has, the better athletes on the team, but all of a sudden there's conflict in the locker room and motivation goes down. When motivation goes down, performance goes down. look at it yourself. Are you more motivated when you're in conflict or when you're out of conflict? And be honest. Do you perform better? Are you more excited about what you're doing when you're in conflict or out of conflict? And this is really not hard. I'm giving all of these to you because I believe if you understand the ramifications, the danger in not having a conflict resolution methodology, you'll see a need to create one, to adopt one. Let's talk about another one. And this is all part of the last couple. Absenteeism is rampant with conflict. I can remember when I played ball, I remember there was conflict between two guys on the team, and one guy all of a sudden became absent. And he was a star, and he was a leader, but he couldn't deal with that conflict. So how many people, or how many times have you been absent? Forget not just work, but mentally absent from what you were supposed to do because you had internal or external conflict. Let's talk another one, and this is really serious. Let's talk about sabotage and theft. Do you know the amount of sabotage that's done in the workplace? The amount of theft that's done in the workplace because of conflict? I had a friend who sold heavy equipment, a fantastic sales guy, and he changed companies. And I don't want to give out the brand names because I don't have permission. But this guy was excellent. He said he changed jobs and he went onto a new client, and the new client told him a story that there was a time they lost a bulldozer. I mean, one of them big bulldozers. And years later, they started a housing development, and as they were digging foundation, they hit steel, and it was this bulldozer. When they went back in time, they realized that there had been conflict with one of their sales reps. They let them go, and what they figured out this person did was dug a hole and put the bulldozer in it. He was mad. There was conflict. Nobody called him in. Nobody tried to resolve a conflict, so he became reactive, and it was a $100,000 machine. Now let's take it to a smaller thing. Why do people steal pencils? Why do they break things? Why do they create sabotage to the computer? I have seen, I'll give another example. I had signed a huge training contract, a national training contract, 40 cities in 1 year on weekends, and fly out on Thursday and then meet with the client and speak a couple times on Friday and then Saturday. And my room was a breakout room. I had about 90 minutes, and the guy who spoke after me had about a 45-minute block. And I remember telling him the importance in treating the production people with great respect, really making sure he never, ever, ever made them look bad. And I remember, meeting with the production people, and they told me where I could walk, where I couldn't walk, and where the sound might drop out. Well, the day came, and I remember pulling this guy aside who was pretty much a prima donna. And I said, hey, if you walk over there, the sound can drop out. But don't make the production guys look bad. They're the most important people in the room. Well, I'm in where I'm supposed to be, and my sound dropped out. So what I did was I pretended that I had turned off the mic, and I said, hey, I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I must have done something wrong. And they smiled, and they gave me thumbs up, and they treated me like gold. Well, the guy after me, he walked outside of where he was supposed to be, and the sound dropped out. And I'll never forget, it's like it was yesterday. He looked to the back of the room, and there were 5,000 people in his breakout, and he said, what's your problem? What did you do wrong? And he embarrassed them, and it created great conflict in the room. You could feel the tension. Well, for the next 2 days, nobody ever heard him again when he was on stage. They literally would turn off his mic. That was sabotage on their part, but it was created by this guy who chose not to resolve a conflict but escalate it. Let's talk about the next one, on-work violence. You know, when my daughter took a criminology class many years ago, she found out that 18% of death on a job site is homicide. Are you kidding me? That means the second highest amount of fatalities on a job site is a homicide. Well, that comes from unresolved conflict. And so these are all the things that unresolved conflict can cause. Now, let's talk about in the 21st century what's happening. You know, people are posting things about other people. People are tagging them on the internet. People are saying things about people behind assumed names. There is so much out there that people are doing on conflict because of unresolved conflict that is becoming rampant. It's absolutely unbelievable. There's very little you can do to stop it unless you decide, I need to resolve this conflict. Here's a couple other things that you have to be aware of. When you have conflict, you're going to lose clients. It's inevitable. You know, you're going to have situations between you and a client. It's not always going to be agreement. There's going to be times you disagree. If you don't have a conflict resolution methodology in your back pocket, you will lose a client. Now, I want you to do something for me when you get in front of a piece of paper. I want you to take out your largest client and what that revenue is to you on a monthly basis, even if they pay you annually. But break it down into 12 months. What is your largest client worth to you monthly? And then multiply it times 12. Now you have a number. Then multiply it times 10 years. Now you have a larger number and put an X through it. Can we really afford to lose that client? Can we really afford, because we chose not to resolve the conflict, but to escalate it, that you've lost a client that could be worth so much money? I had a client many years ago who had a huge cleaning business. He cleaned at the hospital level. And I had his management team in place. And I gave him that analogy. I said, write down the client that you're managing that creates some X amount of dollars. And then I asked the owner, give me a mean right in the middle of not a high client, not a low, but a middle one. He gave one that was worth like $5,000 a month, which is $60,000 a year, which over 10 years is $600,000. I put an extra that, and I said, and you're managing at that account, and because you chose not to resolve conflict, but to escalate it, you just lost a $600,000 account. Do you deserve to be fired? And everybody in the room got extremely quiet. You know, you're going to have lower productivity. You're going to lose clients. You're going to lose quality people. My recommendation for you is to start working to learn processes and procedures and methodology on conflict resolution. In the next podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the types of conflict, where it's coming from. But I wanted to spend some time first this morning to talk to you about, if you don't resolve conflict, nothing good happens. Now, this is Joe Pici. This is the Sales Edge. This is podcast number 37. Please send in your questions, suggestions, joe@PICIandPICI.com. Put in a tagline, Sales Edge. Also, take out your phone and text to this number, 55678. And in the message, put Sales Edge. Make sure it's one word. That's going to take you to a link. It's going to take you to a splash page. That splash page will have free download ebooks, one on LinkedIn, one on sales. Also, if you scroll down, there is also the link to our podcast. You can send that out to all of your database. We've just added Stitcher on our podcast, so now we have Google, Spotify, Apple on iTunes, and now Stitcher, and we want to continue to grow our base and be a value add to you. So thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping in. We look forward to our next podcast, and just have a great day.
Thanks for listening. New episodes will air each Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. The Sales Edge is sponsored by Pici and Pici Incorporated, a firm which provides training, consulting, and keynote presentations, empowering corporations and individuals to attract and retain quality clients for higher revenues and growth. Make more money in sales. Speak with Joe in person by calling 407-947-2590 or visit www.piciandpici.com, spelled PICIAND, PICI.com.